Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back to another edition here of Intuitive Angling. Hope everybody's having a good day out there today, and we are going to get in today to the topic of if the state fisheries across the country that manage these lakes are doing a good job or not, and if they have too liberal of creel limits, if they understand the reality of bass fishing. And I'm going to give you guys sort of my opinion on that. And it really is in light of recently Oklahoma announced that they're changing their limits across the state, where I think you can only keep like one bass over 16 inches a day, and they're going to have to give like exemptions to tournaments, that type of stuff. So we're going to get into that and have a little discussion on that. Real quick, just want to remind everybody, we got our back in stock our new brown and purple blocked old school jigs at Baitworks again. Got a new stock of them in. If you guys are interested, I'll include the Baitworks link in the description. We sold them out in about a week the first time, but we got the second run in, so you guys can order them there. And you can also get you whatever fishing tackle you're needing at Baitworks. I'll put the link in the description there. Okay guys, let's talk about this overview here. I sort of have and like I said, if I don't want to make this sound bad, but I don't have a lot of God, I'm trying to figure out how to say this exactly. Let me just say this. I don't agree with the fisheries management positions on bass management in a lot of the lakes across the country. In my opinion, they put way too much emphasis on being concerned with people harvesting bass. Like that's the primary function. Most fisheries managements I've seen, with the exception of maybe the state of Texas, they don't put enough emphasis on the fact that bass should be considered differently than other fish in terms of how popular they are as a sport fish, and try to protect that sport fishery over trying to basically, allow people to keep bass to put them in the frying pan, because it seems like to me that's one of their primary objectives that they have, is to making sure that people can do that. A couple different things that I've seen on this, and I'll talk a little bit about that new Oklahoma change here in a second, is that I've had a chance to fish, like I said, most every major lake across the country, and I've had a chance to analyze the fisheries management positions in those lakes in correlation with how the fisheries are. And I don't see a lot of the connection, because I think a lot of these people that are fisheries managements, they don't have the dirt time on the water as a lot of professional fishermen do. They've got class time, they've got shock studies, the data that they have comes from a different perspective other than reality of the bass fishing. Because when they do shocking studies and shocking surveys, that is not an accurate sampling of how healthy or unhealthy a bass fishery is, simply because of the limitations that the shocking has on that. One of the things that I think that fisheries managements fail a lot is they don't put enough emphasis on basically restocking and habitat and keeping the good food supply for the bass. One of the things that I've seen in bass fishing is that if you've got good habitat for the fish and you've got a strong forage base, those fish are going to take care of themselves, and you don't have to harvest them. These bass have survived for 100, now I think they figured it's 140 million years without any bass fishermen having to manage or harvest them. Guys, man does not need to feel they need to interject and manage fisheries. They will do fine without us. As long as you have that balance of habitat and food, they're going to be fine. They don't need to be managed on that. And one of the things that I've seen with this is that when you have states that have these liberal creel limits, like I think Louisiana, that's got some ridiculous thing, like they've got a 15 bass, like some type of a 15 bass limit. I don't even know if there's a length limit on the thing, but there's a lot of them out there that cater to the meat hunters. And in the world of bass fishing in 2022, there's just no place for that. I mean, there's plenty of other species out there that are better eating and don't have the fishing pressure than the largemouth bass. So I think my advice to the fisheries management departments is start promoting the fact and start steering people away from eating and keeping bass. try to teach them and educate them to respect the bass for a sport fish, and let them know that there's more value in seeing a 10-year-old kid watching a 3-pound bass jump out of the water than seeing that thing flayed out into a frying pan. It's all a matter of how you place value on the fish. And so from that standpoint, I don't agree with a lot of that. Now, this ruling for Grand Lake, again, like I said, why anyone would want to eat a bass out of Grand Lake, I have no idea, because Grand Lake is a highly polluted lake. I just can't imagine why you'd want to eat bass out of there to begin with. But if instead of like being able to keep and eat a limit of 14 inches every day, you know, they're going to have this limit now where, you know, you're only allowed one over 16 inches. So we'll see how that goes there. But like I said, overall, I just don't have a lot of respect for the policy on fisheries management across the state. I have not seen it be that effective under other than just specific circumstances. And I think Texas is an anomaly in the fact that, when you have a body of water that has aquatic vegetation, it's naturally going to be a little bit more productive. Texas is unique in the fact that it has a lot of water out there that has a lot of diversity in habitat, wood, rock, grass, that type of stuff. They got a longer growing season. They got Florida strain bass. I mean, it's just a little bit different type of a deal. But for most part, I just think that they need to rethink their approach to fisheries management across the United States and try to educate people into catch and release, and try to use the monies that we spend as recreational and sport fishermen to encourage, habitat being placed in the lake, include, increased forage being put in the lake, stocking, that type of stuff, instead of, just relying on people to keeping bass so they don't get overpopulated, which they won't. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest myths in bass fishing that I've ever seen, is that somehow these lakes just can't do without man taking fish out of them. I think that's a bunch of crap. I just don't agree with it. I have not seen that reality in my own fishing and my own studies that I've done over the year. I've talked a little bit before, guys, about that 40-acre lake that I owned for years. People say, the fisheries people came up there and they told me, they said, Randy, you're going to have to take 200 bass a year out of this pond in order for it to be a healthy pond. I called them and I said, I call bullshit on that. That's ridiculous. I'm not taking 200 bass a year out of here. So I didn't take any bass out of this pond. The only thing I did is I kept my bluegill forage strong. I stocked bluegill. I kept cover in the lake. And I never took any fish out of that pond, and it remained super healthy, good fishing. Fish were in great shape without taking anything out of it. So I sort of did the experiment on my own with that. So anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think on that. Thanks for tuning into the video. And guys, please hit that subscribe button if you hadn't had a chance. Just please subscribe, hit the notification button, share the channel with other people. Much appreciated. We'll talk later.